For this report, we're going to be discussing ingresses, Cazimis, and this month's new moon, plus a conjunction. So we have a lot of activity going on that are in close proximity to each other in this quadrant of the chart. Mercury, which is a planet of speech, writing, travel. It's the messenger. It enters Taurus right at the beginning of the month after spending most of March in Aries. So this ingress is happening on the 2nd, right around midnight. So you want to check your time zone. It is very, 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 very possible that it's on the 3rd, but it also could be at some point on the 2nd. So you do want to check that. For me, it's like a few minutes before midnight. So it's like barely in there on the 2nd. So that ingress is happening, and it is going to overlap not with the whole month of May because it moves too quick for that. It never is going to be spending longer unless there's a retrograde happening. So it is going to be in 2 different signs in the month of May, but for the first part, it will be in Taurus. What this will do is it completely slows our mind down. Because when we have Mercury in Aries, it's fast, it's quick, it's impulsive, maybe even unfiltered, it's competitive, it's aggressive. When we go into Taurus, it's a whole different ballgame because we're thinking about Taurian themes. We are literally speaking slower, hopefully speaking kindly. We are focused on what is beautiful. We're thinking about money, materialism. 12 days later, on the 14th, we have the Cazimi 23 degrees of Taurus, meaning towards the end, because there's 29. 29 is the last degree, 30 degrees total. So towards the end, we have the Cazimi. And on this day, there's aha moments, there's illuminations, there could be breaking news. So this could be, again, not specific to you, but something that we want to watch out for. This is a really great day if you want to plan to have a conversation on that day. Because it's Taurus, it could specifically be a conversation about money or finances or values, creativity. So you could get in a good flow state that day. Maybe you're working on some sort of creative project or doing something with your finances or bookkeeping. This would be a really, really great day for clarity and making sure that you're not confused or lost. Again, Mercury operates fine as it's functioning through Taurus, but this just gives you an extra amplified day of things just flowing smoothly and being more easily understood, shared, and received. We also could find that we get more comfortable with pauses because Taurus loves to just settle in and slow down. So we may find that we don't even necessarily want to do anything on this day. We just want to allow our minds to have that rest and unwind. That is a possibility if you want to have this as like a self-care day. You could also journal if you wanted to reflect more. As we know, from May 1st to May 31st, we have a big long storyline in report number 1 about all the things we could reflect on. If you want to do that on the Cazimi day, this could be a good day for writing a lot of things down or maybe reviewing your notes or understanding the subconscious made conscious. So we can intersect those storylines together here. Then we have 2 days later and 2 degrees over. We have the sun and the moon conjoining. So for context here, when we have a Cazimi, that is when a planet is at the same degree point as the sun. So Mercury moves pretty quickly. It moves a little bit faster than the sun does. So it's going to separate. It's going to start moving. It's going to be leaving it in the dust. But because it's only 2 days later, if there's a new moon, that means right in between, the moon is sitting there. Moon and the sun are cycling around the zodiac. For the sun, it takes a whole month to move through one sign. For the moon, it takes a whole month to move through all of the signs. And as a result, when you have a new moon, it means they're now at the same spot. So we have like an eclipse, but not an actual eclipse. The blocking of light, that's why it's dark. So that means Mercury, because it's only 2 degrees over, Mercury's also going to still be sitting there. So when this new moon is happening, We had that Cazimi, and then Mercury is still going to be like literally right there on top of it. So, infused in these revelations and ideas that we're having, or reframes, especially with the Taurian flare, we're also planting seeds. And we're planting seeds in Taurus. So there could be an aha moment and we go, wait, oh my gosh, I never thought about it this way. That's a really great idea. Great, we get to plant the seed for that. We now want to call that in. We can harness that new information, new insight, new perspective to, over the next 6 months, call something in that area of our life. So it could be focused on the Taurus energy, those signatures. So could be calling in money, stability, slowing down. Like, I need to slow down. I want to call in support for being able to slow down. It also could be pleasure, connection to your senses, like yummy food, things like that. So those are things that you could call in just from the Taurus lens. You want to look at applying those characteristics to that area of your chart at 25 degrees of Taurus. And your mind is still going to be sharp, it's still going to be active. So hopefully it'll help you think of even more ideas and specifics because your mind is also in a position where it can support this reset. This new moon will have the full moon in approximately 6 months later in the year. And then we're going to be looking back on this time. We're going to be looking back on May and saying, what did I receive in the Taurian area of my life? And, what did I successfully call in as relates to money, pleasure, creativity, connection, calm, stability, steadiness? So we can almost anticipate, like, what do we want those answers to be? What do we want to cast out? What do we want to call in? So that was on the 16th. And then the following day, Mercury has already sped out and it's finished those remaining few degrees of Taurus and it goes into Gemini. And when it goes into Gemini, it then runs into Uranus, which we talked about in April. That was the big, big transit at the end of April, was Uranus at the final degree point of Taurus, hopping over the line. So any planets that are coming through are then going to run into Uranus, just as the planets did in Aries with Neptune and Saturn. Same thing is going to happen as everybody works their way over to Gemini. They're now going to run into Uranus sitting there. And this planet represents sudden change, the unexpected, rebellion. Can be some technology, just like innovation. So new ideas. So the mind is connected with newness at the same time. So for this Mercury storyline, we have it changing signs, slowing down, aha moments, sitting right there when we have a new moon, thinking about new beginnings. And then it's like, oh, what about this? What about that? What's unexpected? Like, there's a lot of information that might be coming in. So no wonder at the same time, we have our other storyline that we're going to need to reflect because we're going to ask a lot of questions because the underbelly is going to be activated. But then at the same time, we're going to be receiving a lot of ideas and then just processing them. Because Mercury rules Gemini in addition to Virgo, Mercury is super happy here. So we also have to keep in mind that when it enters this sign, it's like super powerful and excited. So it just came off of a Cazimi, which is an awesome day. And like a few days later, it's in Gemini, which is super, super happy. And what we want to be mindful of is our tongue could be quick. Maybe we're a little extra funny. We got our wit going. But we want to be mindful of if we're doing a little bit of a motor mouth situation or maybe saying too much or lecturing when we just need to process, we could just maybe study. So we want to think about what we're doing with the information that we're processing that's coming in. Does our audience need to hear it or not hear it? If it's not suitable right now, we can just focus on writing it and getting it down so we can process it more before it's maybe appropriate to share. So we do want to ask ourselves also, what is all this information that we are acquiring that is coming to the fore teaching us about our next chapter, teaching us about our new beginning, which again, all this new beginning energy overlapping and teaching us about how we are growing and evolving as people. The 17th into the 18th, all three personal planets are changing signs. Regardless of if you have planetary rulership with these three, it is very likely that you will feel a shift because all of a sudden, all of these very core fundamental parts of ourselves are redirected. So we have Mercury getting speedy again, getting chatty, getting really intellectual, asking a billion questions, wanting to understand. Mars does not like to be in Taurus because Mars is about action. It was flying. It was so excited to be in Aries throughout the month of April and part of May because it rules that sign. It wants to go, it wants to act. And when it gets into Taurus, it's like it's skidding into a wall. It's like, what do you mean I have to stop? It's like moving through sludge. So Mars is not particularly happy. And this, again, is happening at the end of May and will continue into June. And then Venus goes into Cancer. So we have to think about all three of these happening in tandem. And what does that mean for how we are operating in our day-to-day over the coming weeks from this like mid to late May going into June? We may feel uncomfortable or dissatisfied because like we want to do more, but then we can't. Or we may feel like a complete lack of motivation. And depending on the type of person, if that's suited for you or not, you might then get bothered by it because you're like, but I want to do stuff, but I don't feel like doing anything at the same time. So it'll feel like, again, something is misaligned or mismatched. And that is because there's a stubbornness that emerges. There is a resistance to act, to move the needle. And it's coming from being motivated, Mars, motivated by self-protection and comfort seeking. The ram wants to run into things. It wants to be in pursuit. The bull is like, no. So it's just gonna say, okay, you're gonna come at me, whatever. I'm just gonna be over here. So there could be some disinterest, but it's just, again, self-preservation. We want to have the creature comforts. So depending on your placement, depending on your general personality, this may feel okay, but it might feel really not great. It might feel different layers of uncomfortable for you. Our hope here is that the Venus ingress is a nice buffer because Venus, which represents ease, pleasure, is going to and from situations where we are caretaking. So if we are helping other people, if we are of service, it's like what's happening in Taurus. Like I like to compare Taurus and Cancer in the sense that they both kind of want to be the homebody. They both want to be comfortable. So Mars is over there like a little annoyed or just feeling completely unmotivated, like it doesn't want to do anything. And then Venus at the same time is like, oh, let's have some good food. And like that's what Taurus wants too. And let's get comfortable and like let's connect with people and like let's hug and let's be on the same page and let's connect to our intuition. And so my hope is that this Venus ingress slightly buffers what is happening with Mars because it could maybe encourage us to not view it as a point of frustration. But remember, we also have the Pluto retrograde. We have this whole other storyline going on, which is asking us to do some healing, to look at what's uncomfortable, what's making us feel uncomfortable. And maybe this is a sticking point for you of how do I move slower? How do I get comfortable with slowing down? How do I shift my boundaries? A big Cancer challenge is not setting or maintaining appropriate boundaries. When Venus moves in there, Venus is going to take one look around and say, you're not in alignment here. You have to take care of yourself. You got to put some of those boundaries back in place, friend. And so we have all of these little shifts happening right around the same time for us to make some adjustments for our highest good, for our long-term benefit. So any discomfort that arises, we're going to feel so much better when we just find those ways to release that tension and lean into the support that all of these offer. Like it isn't healthy for Mars to only ever be in Aries. Mars has to move out because if it's just going, 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 it will burn out. So even if it feels like it's running into a wall and stopping, it's probably good for us to stop. And it's just the adjustment. It's the adjustment period. And once we settle in, we have Venus over there doing her work. Hopefully, we can all just be homebodies together and we're in pursuit of a blanket rather than just in general pursuit. If you're finding that you're on the more like anxiety induced end of the spectrum, like because it makes you so uncomfortable, like what is happening with Mars, that's why you really want to look at these houses because you can figure out what's Venus doing and how can you harness it. We had the Mercury Sun Cazimi, and that was late degrees of Taurus. Mercury keeps moving. The moon is there. Now we have a new moon. Mercury keeps moving and changes signs. But guess what? The moon and the sun both have to keep moving too. So the sun is going to keep moving through those same late degrees, and it's just going to take a little bit longer to get into Gemini. It's following in Mercury's trail and path to have that same exact conjunction with Uranus at 1 degree of Gemini. And as I mentioned before, same thing is going to happen eventually, not this month, when Mars gets there. What are Uranus Cazimis known for? They are sudden shakeups. Great, if we don't have enough of those. Sudden shakeups, but also could be liberation. We are wanting to rebel, wanting to be free. Oh, we're having the release. We already know that we need to be releasing anyway, leaning into surrender. That's part of the Pluto storyline that's going on. So this could be great. This could actually be really supportive. We also may start feeling excited about making change, about embracing it, about initiating it. So it'll shift our perspective, our take on it. If you're curious to learn about the Uranus and Gemini transits, I talked about it in my April report. I also have written about it on my blog. So this is a multi-year, it's a 7-year situation. So there's lots that you can learn about this. I have spoken about it. So if you want more details on that, definitely go check it out. Before this Cazimi, we would also expect that there's going to be some discourse, some language emerging. It could be things coming out of left field. It could be innovation in modes of transportation, or hopefully, fingers crossed, some sort of a momentary reprieve from global conflict. The thing that's hilarious to me about this is I wrote this stuff forever ago. And I read it now and go, wow, that sounds really nice. So I would hope that we have a little bit of that on this day. It's a marker, and it's specifically about diplomacy because it's Gemini. It's about conversation. So maybe some deals are struck, and there's some sort of a change that's made because of communication. That could be wonderful. Fingers crossed we see a little bit of that happening on this day. This report number 2, this second storyline, it's about knowledge. It's about information. It's about pages being turned. And maybe what's coming through is a cozy blanket. It feels great. It feels nice. It's a relief. It's a comfort. It's supportive. Or maybe it's a bit of a wet blanket and we're like, oh gosh, didn't necessarily love that. But eventually it's going to dry out, extended metaphor here. So there is this window for us to write a new story for ourselves. We harness all of that beginning energy. We're planting the seeds at the new moon. We are starting a new chapter with all of those ingresses. Actually, it was 4 ingresses because it was 2 for Mercury. 4 ingresses. And those restart points with those 2 different Cazimis. In May, we are growing in our sense of self, our grasp of our most transformative spiritual work. There's knowledge that we can't look away from, that we can't ignore. And in part, it's because of the sheer magnitude. It's really, really big picture, especially when we're talking about Pluto. But we also have all these Cazimis. These are big points of illumination. Things are moving around, and we also have that retrograde happening at the same time. It's like what we're doing is we are retelling and rediscovering part of who we are, part of our origin story. And what do we need to take with us into the new chapter, the new story, the new book that we are writing? What we need to take with us, what we need to let go of in order to renew, to become 2.0, 3.0, whatever version we are as individuals. And on the bigger picture collective side, obviously in April, it was like fire energy was everywhere because we had at one point 7 planets in Aries, which is a record. And what we have in May, in contrast, is predominantly earth and air activations, which will feel like a change of pace after such a fiery month. It's a long journey home, and home to ourselves and our soul and our understanding. But we are steadily finding our way back with each like crack. It's like when you go to the chiropractor and you have like some sort of an adjustment, like every single change that we've been through throughout this year. But in this month, we have this change, this adjustment, this reflection, these ideas, this information coming in, like do, all month long. None of them are so intense, but it's the series. It's all of them coming together. It's how they're interacting with each other. These are bright lights coming in. These are readjustments, realignment. And the visual I also had here is like the silence. It's like the stunned silence of a poetry reading. It's this information that's coming in, these reflections, these points of really deep understanding that we just are sitting and processing like, okay, wait, what does that mean? What does that mean? And how is it making you feel? Because with several of these, there's some sort of emotional response or activation or something that's really striking a chord deeply within us. So we're collecting our own flowers and we're carrying those forward so that we can like replant them if it's seeds or put them in a vase for ourselves. We're honoring ourselves. We are embracing that renewal energy and making sure that we can give ourselves flowers in the future. So the full moons, we're giving ourselves flowers now and then later. Recognition of how far we've come and knowing that some of this effort that we're putting in now is going to pay off. Some of it is in some months, some of it is some years, but that we do deserve 444. We do deserve to give ourselves flowers now and next month and the month after that, 7 years from now, 18 years from now. So that is where we end today. Please let me know your thoughts. How did this land? Do you have any questions? Are you feeling excited? Are you feeling concerned? What are your thoughts on how April has gone? Because we're basically done. And the contrast with May, because for me, this felt very, very different. One, intuitively, and two, just pulling all of it together. It really does feel very different.